Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets because, guys, as I'm sure you are aware, the last 2 weeks or so have been rather brutal for Bitcoin. 10 of the last 12 days have been red here in the Bitcoin market. One of them was a very, very small green candlestick, and to be totally honest, one of those 12 hasn't closed yet and is looking like it may close red. With Bitcoin crashing so much, a lot of people have been asking, is Bitcoin going to go below key support and a key piece of market structure at $6,000? If we go below $6,000, it'd be very, very bearish indeed, and I've seen all kinds of predictions for where Bitcoin may go if we do break this important piece of market structure. I've seen predictions that Bitcoin will go as low as 5.2, 5,000, 4.8, $4,000 flat, $3,000. I even saw a comment that Bitcoin was going to $1,200, and of course I've seen plenty of trolls saying Bitcoin is going to zero. So in today's video, we're going to break down the bullish side of this argument, we're going to break down the bearish side of this argument, I'm going to give you my opinion, and then we're going to talk a little bit about where I think Bitcoin is going. After we do that, we're going to cover some news from the Pantera Capital CEO, because it is his opinion and mine also that people should be focused on the backed news and not on the Bitcoin ETF news, whether or not it will be accepted, rejected, or extended, because it doesn't really matter anywhere near as much as the back news. We're going to talk about that for just a couple of minutes later on, because I think we've beaten the dead horse of the Bitcoin ETF enough at this point on the channel. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how Bittrex is adding fiat support for Ethereum Classic and XRP, and then we're going to wrap up with an interesting study done by a professor at Yale, where he says that every portfolio should include at least 6% Bitcoin. But that's going to be what we're going to be talking about in today's video, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. We do cryptocurrency videos every single day, and I wouldn't want you to miss any of them. So let's get right into it. Bitcoin is, as the time of recording, you see the UTC time down here, trading around $6,280. If we come over here to CoinMarketCap, we're going to see that's a little bit higher on CoinMarketCap, but CoinMarketCap has a tendency as of late to be listing prices wrong, so we're not going to take that. We're going to take the Bitfinex price because that will be much more accurate. Bitcoin, according to CoinMarketCap, according to CoinMarketCap, is down about 2.89% in the last 24 hours, but as we can see, the price action is actually a little bit lower than that. We're going to call that down about 4%. Daily volume, I believe the volume figures on CoinMarketCap are still correct, is around $4.5 billion. Ethereum's volume is around $1.8 billion, and as we can see, pretty much the entire market is red. We do see a couple of gainers here, maybe 10 or 15 gainers. We see 2 double-digit gainers, but we see quite a number of double-digit losers there in the red. And if we scroll over here to Bitcoin comparatives, it's not much better. As we can see, a lot of the altcoins are getting destroyed on their Bitcoin comparatives also, because sometimes when Bitcoin is going down, you might see the altcoins do well, and you might actually be gaining Bitcoin even though Bitcoin's going down because the altcoins are going up. In this case, though, the altcoins are following Bitcoin, and that is typically how it goes, and a lot of the altcoins are losing on their Bitcoin comparatives as well as their US dollar comparatives. Something we want to talk about is the key support level of $100 billion on Bitcoin. If we come in here to the Bitcoin chart on CoinMarketCap, now I'm so concerned about saying CoinMarketCap. I think I've made that mistake before. But if we come in here to the Bitcoin chart, then what we're going to see if we zoom into year to date, actually, let's go to the last 3 months, is that the recent low that Bitcoin saw over here at $5,750 was a technical bottoming. It wasn't some fundamental news that brought us that gave us a correction, and it also wasn't something on the Bitcoin over US dollar chart that gave us support. It was actually right down here. These two bottoms right here represent the bottom that we saw, and we actually saw a bottom on $100 billion market capitalization. That's where we ended up getting our support, which was interesting because a lot of people were looking at $6,000 flat to be the level of support because that was previous support, but it actually turns out that $100 billion was the level of support that we got. So I'm definitely going to be looking at that as Bitcoin approaches it, if it approaches it. We'll be talking about that more in just a bit. But that's something interesting to look at. Something else that we want to look at is total cryptocurrency market capitalization, which is below a key support level of $250 billion, $250 billion. Bitcoin going down, it still has that key support level on its market cap of around $100 billion, but total market capitalization isn't looking as great. Now, of course, Bitcoin has been at this price level several times this year, but the total market capitalization is suffering right now because we've gone down to around $250 billion several times. We can see right over here we did, right over here on February the 6th when Bitcoin initially pulled back, we only went down to about $280, $290 billion, and then recently we went down to about $230 billion. Right now we're down below we're down at $222 billion, which is the lowest that market capitalization has been all year. And part of that is because Bitcoin has, one, eaten up a bunch of Bitcoin dominance. As you can see, it's getting very, very close to that interesting level of 50% right here. And also, Bitcoin is going down. So a lot of the valuation in the cryptocurrency sphere is leaving the cryptocurrency space. So that's something that we want to keep an eye on, because we, of course, don't want the cryptocurrency space shrinking anymore. I think we're all a bit tired of this Bitcoin bear market, but just because we're tired of it doesn't mean it's over. Let's go ahead and talk about the bull's case for this question that we posed at the beginning of the video. Is Bitcoin going to go below $6,000? It's kind of the theme of today's video, because this is a big, important, key level of support. We've seen 3 bottoms here. This is a very important piece of market structure that Bitcoin needs to hold above if Bitcoin is going to get a bounce and see a rally that could form into a bull run over the next 6 months. Guys, I will go ahead and give you my opinion. If we break below $6,000 and we confirm down there for a couple of days, we're probably going much, much lower, and I might be on board with some of those 4.8 to 5.2 or 5,000 or maybe even $4,000 predictions. I'm not going to say that for sure right now because the market hasn't developed enough, but if we go below $6,000 and confirm that, I think we're going to at least 5,000. With that said, in regard to this little correction that Bitcoin has seen, it's a little bit more of a correction at this point, this little cliff dive that Bitcoin has done in the last couple of days, in the last 2 weeks or so, what is the bullish case? Well, there is most certainly a bullish case. I'm sure you guys have already heard my side of this, which is most certainly the bullish case. And to be totally honest, if it wasn't for this one thing, if it wasn't for those meddling kids and their dang fundamental news changes, then I think my case would have still come to fruition, that Bitcoin would have bounced up here at $6,800. But something that I want to mention before we get into this is that a lot of times when you have fundamental changes in the market or when you have big news stories, technicals go straight out the window, which is why I was expecting that Bitcoin was going to get support here at $6,800. And by the way, it wasn't just me. A lot of people seem to think I was the only one that thought Bitcoin was going to get support at $6,800. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, including a lot of people that are far more experienced than I am, thought that we were going to get support at $6,800. But one of the problems that you have in markets is that sometimes when you have a lot of people panic selling, a lot of people shorting, and a lot of people getting worried about news that really isn't that big of a deal, like the Bitcoin ETF decision being postponed, the technicals can go out the window a little bit. So that's one of the big reasons that I think that we went below $6,800. With that said, let's talk about the fundamental and technical bullish reasons that I think Bitcoin will bounce. And well, I'm not saying that I think it'll bounce, but why a lot of people think that it'll bounce, and then we'll talk about the bearish side. One of the reasons that a lot of people think Bitcoin is going to bounce here is because, like I said in the intro, 10 of the last 12 days, and now since recording that video, we've gone red on this daily candlestick correction. 11 of the last 12 days have been red. And like I've said in other videos, whenever you see a market go in the same direction for a long period of time, the longer it goes in that same direction, the more likely it is that you're going to see a reversal. Now, of course, we did see 7 red in a row here. We saw one tiny little green candlestick, and that should have been a bearish signal. It looked like Bitcoin was going to get a little bit of a bounce here. If we zoom into the hour, off of over here at around 6,850, you can see it looked like we were getting a little bit of a bounce here. We did not, because some news came out and plummeted us, and a lot of people started panic selling. But nevertheless, when you see several red in a row, when you see a bunch of red candlesticks in a row, when you see 11 red candlesticks in a row right now, then, or 11 red candlesticks in a row with one green breaking it up, that's typically actually a bullish sign, because it means that, well, correction, it can be interpreted both ways. It can be interpreted as a bullish sign because it means that the bears are probably running out of steam, but another way you can interpret it is that the bears are extremely, extremely, extremely strong, and the bears do have the capacity and the capability to short the hell out of Bitcoin and push Bitcoin down very, very, very quickly. So there's 2 different ways you can interpret that. That is basic. The way you interpret that is very much dependent on the market that you're looking at and the state of the market that you're looking at. Speaking of the last 11 days being red on Bitcoin, what that has done to the RSI is very, very interesting, because as we can see here on the daily RSI, the RSI is down here around 30 right now. And this is still part of the bullish case, of course. The RSI is down here around 30. I don't think Bitcoin, at least as far as I can tell, has gone down on the RSI that quickly, except for over here in September when we were traced from $5,000 to $3,000. That's the last time that I saw the RSI correct this hard on the Bitcoin daily chart. And Bitcoin is hovering around 30 on its RSI right now. And for the majority of 2018, whenever Bitcoin pulls back to $6,000, it also typically pulls back to around 30 on its RSI. And that's exactly where we are right now. So the bulls would say that that Bitcoin is about to actually see a bounce, because Bitcoin is sitting down here around 30 on the RSI, which historically has been a very important piece of support. Now, we'll get to what the bears say about that in a second, because they would have a counter argument to that. But the bulls would say, okay, well, we're down here around 30 on the RSI. we're getting oversold. We've seen 11 candlesticks out of 12 be red in the last 12 days. Bitcoin should bounce because it seems like the bears are losing their momentum. And then the bulls would also point to, and I agree with some of these positions. I don't subscribe to some of these positions. I'm trying to give you the overall market sentiment as it seems to me. And then the bulls would also point to another couple of levels of support that I would point to as well. One of them would be this little support line right here, which represents the top of both of these shoulders on the inverse head and shoulders pattern. It represents the top of a shoulder right there. And it looks like we're trying to get support on it right now, but also at the same time, it looks like we're trying to go below it right now as we are seeing this candlestick get a little bit more red. We're down maybe $30 or $40 since we started recording the video. So that's one level of support that Bitcoin could potentially see support at. We are also below the Fibonacci level that we were looking at, but we can go ahead and look at it anyway. We did see Bitcoin try and get a correction up here, and then saw a candlestick, or a wicks, excuse me, get resistance on this on this Fibonacci level, which is not a good thing at all. But we also do see another level here, which if we zoom in here to the hour, it'll be a little bit more apparent. There is, actually, let's go to the 4 hour, it'll be a bit easier to see. There is also a bit of an uptrend here that you can draw that we are currently breaking, so maybe the bulls wouldn't be pointing to this anymore. But as you can see, there's a pivot point right over here, a set point right here, and it would also suggest that we were going to get support right here. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. But that's a big part of the bullish case. Of course, I didn't cover every argument. I didn't cover everything that's bullish for Bitcoin, but I think I covered enough to give you guys a good idea of what the bulls are saying. Let's talk about what the bears are saying now. Well, one of the first things that I would see a bear saying, and one of the first things that the bearish part of me is saying, is that, hey, Jeb, Bitcoin has gone down for 11 of the last 12 days. That's a very big sign that the bears are extremely powerful right now. You might call that an indication of bearish strength. The fact that the bears have been able to push us through so many important levels of support, guys, just shows how powerful they are right now. We've seen so many, guys, a ton of really powerful levels of support be broken in the last 2 weeks. And these aren't levels of support that are all scattered out so that Bitcoin can break them one at a time. No, several of these levels of support were all in the same place, making them extremely, extremely powerful, and the bears still broke through them. Like $6,800, several levels of support came up here. We had the Fibonacci level, $6,800, which was close to $7,000, a big even, the inverse head and shoulders neckline. And we also saw there was the 50-day simple moving average up there giving us support, and we broke through all of them. So one thing that the bears are arguing is that, well, the bears are able to break through so many key levels of support, so what's the deal? It seems like the bears are very, very powerful right now. Another thing they would point to, and that the bearish side of me would point to, is that when we did see this news of BACT being announced from the Intercontinental Exchange a little over a week ago, it was on this candlestick, it was on the 3rd, it was a Friday, right here, Black Friday. It was because Saturday was going to be very, very bad indeed. But on Black Friday, I'm going to call it, BACT was announced by Intercontinental Exchange. And that was honestly, like I've said in a couple of other videos, one of the biggest news stories, if not the biggest bullish news story of 2018. And Bitcoin didn't even flinch. It kept going down. We saw a red candlestick on the day of one of the biggest news stories of the year. In the last year, this is really one of the biggest news stories. Now, I know I said two different things of this year and in the last year, but it is a very, very big news story. And we still saw a red day. And then we saw a relatively neutral news story of the Bitcoin ETF being postponed by 45 days, their decision being postponed on it. A relatively neutral piece of news, and in my opinion, something that would even be slightly bullish, because it means that they're not going to go ahead and deny it right now and crash prices. It removes that risk for a little while anyway. You can watch my opinion of that on the top right. And it was a neutral news story, and we saw Bitcoin still tank. If we look in here to if we go to here to the 30-minute chart, then we're going to see right over here, Bitcoin dropped very, very quickly after some neutral news because a lot of people got excited. They started panic selling. People started panic selling, and then the panic sellers made a bunch of red candlesticks, so people started shorting Bitcoin, and then we broke key levels of support. It was just a mess. So guys, we've seen a good piece of news. It didn't really help price action at all. We saw a neutral piece of news, and Bitcoin started plummeting. What's going to happen if we see some bad news, guys? I don't want to see some bad news, and it doesn't even seem like it needs to be that bad of news, but if we see some bad news, it seems like it's going to push us straight through $6,000. That's what it seems like to me. And it seems like a lot of people are of that opinion, that we are in a very precarious situation right now. And if Bitcoin does see some bad news come into the market, we're not going to hold $6,000, guys. Like I said, I'm giving you the opinion of the bulls and the bears, and then I'm going to wrap up at the end and give you my opinion. But really, it's just not looking that good, to be totally honest, because the bears are saying, well, you know what? Bitcoin's just been crashing, shattering every single level of support like it's a bull in a china shop, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon, because this is one of the biggest red candlesticks that we've seen in these last 12 days. Bitcoin just continues to crash. So what's my opinion? Well, the bears are, in my opinion, probably right. Now, I'm not going to tell you where I think Bitcoin is going. I'm going to tell you where my gut wants to tell me where Bitcoin is going, because I'm honestly, guys, like I said earlier on in the video, I try and decide where markets are going based off of my gut and based off of my technical analysis and based off of fundamentals. Right now, technicals are out the window. Right now, the fundamentals seem to be doing absolutely nothing but driving Bitcoin down, even though they should be driving Bitcoin up, actually. And my gut is telling me that Bitcoin's going to break below $6,000. Now, a lot of people say that I'm a perma-bear. I'm a perma-bull, excuse me. I'm not a perma-bull. I'm a permanent optimist on the Bitcoin space and the Bitcoin ecosystem and blockchain technology and generally the field of cryptography and cryptocurrencies. I'm very, very bullish on the space. I know what it can do for the world, and I know that Bitcoin should be a lot higher than this, worth a lot more than this. Well, I don't know that, but that's my opinion. And I know, well, I don't know this either, but I'm almost certain that we are going to see a massive bull run in the future of Bitcoin. So that's why people think that I'm a perma bull, is because I mean, I guess my vision is tinted a little bit. I don't think so. But mainly when I'm talking bullish, I'm talking about more long-term stuff. And sometimes when I say that something should be bullish, like back here at $6,800, technically speaking, what I look at, which is mostly technicals, along with fundamentals and my gut, they were all saying that Bitcoin was going to bounce here, and I still think they would have bounced if not for that news of the Bitcoin ETF being delayed and a bunch of people panic selling and shorting. With that said, I'm most certainly not a perma bull, but what I am is a permanent optimist on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. Feel free to call me that. I'm a permanent optimist. You can't get me down, guys. I'm like that in real life too. I'm extremely optimistic. I'm a very, very optimistic person. Does that color the way I look at the market? Absolutely, but that's who I am. If you like that, continue to stick around. If you don't like that, well, I mean, there's a red X up here in the top right if you want to click off. I'm not going to make you stay. But my point is, what do I think is going to happen? Like I said, technicals seem to be out the window right now. Fundamentals, even though I think they're bullish, seem to be driving price action down or having no effect whatsoever. And my gut is telling me that we're going to break $6,000. Am I wrong? Absolutely. I may be wrong. I've been wrong before. You guys have seen in the last couple of days that I have been wrong about $6,800. Most people were wrong about $6,800. And the last point for the bears is that if Bitcoin does come down here to $6,000 a fourth time, it's not likely it's going to hold, guys. So we're going to see what happens. The RSI is telling me Bitcoin should bounce. My gut is telling me we're eventually probably going to go below $6,000. I'm not going to make any predictions. I'm just telling you what my gut is telling me. And right now, to be totally honest, I am not dipping a toe in this market because it was very, very, acting very, very strange. But that's my opinion, guys. Tell me in the poll in the top right up here if you think Bitcoin is going to break below $6,000 or not. And also tell me in the comment section down below what your opinion is. We've gone a little bit over time on the TA, so let's go ahead and get to the news. I talked about this for a minute earlier on, so we're not going to get too deep into this, but Pantera Capital CEO says that people should be focused on the back news and not on the Bitcoin ETF rejection. You guys can go type this into Google and find the article if you're interested in reading it. I'm just going to talk about this headline for a second. Because like I said earlier, Bitcoin dropped, even though this was one of the biggest news stories of the year. This is a very, very big news story called Huge News here by Crypto Globe. This is a very, very big news story, and Bitcoin still dropped. A lot of people are focusing on the Bitcoin ETF when they should actually not be focusing on the Bitcoin ETF. They should be focusing on good news like ICE and back. But when you have a bear market, you have overall more powerful bearish sentiment, and that's what we're seeing. You guys can go see my opinion on backed and everything up here in the top right if you are interested. Let's go ahead and talk about Bittrex adding fiat support for Ethereum Classic and XRP a little over a month ago. I believe it was at the end of May, actually. I may have my date wrong there. I believe at the end of May, Bittrex was talking about adding fiat support for, it was US dollar, Tether, True USD, and Bitcoin. So what that means is that at the time, it wasn't everyone, but I believe now everyone can actually use fiat for buying Bitcoin on Bittrex, which is nice because you have another fiat to crypto gateway. But now they've just talked about introducing a plan to add Ethereum Classic over US dollars. Even though the entire market has been very bad, Ethereum Classic fans are probably still having a very good week, even though this little correction that I was talking about that would most likely happen after the Coinbase listing did go ahead and happen. Ethereum Classic is down quite a bit from where it was just a couple of days ago. But nevertheless, as far as fundamentals are concerned, I think the Ethereum Classic community is having a rather good couple of weeks, even if their portfolios may not be. But nevertheless, this is something that you guys, if you use Bittrex, you may have wanted to know about. I tried to log onto my Bittrex account and show you guys this, but actually I haven't used Bittrex in like 8 months and I forgot my password, so I wasn't able to show you that. And Bittrex, along with a lot of exchanges, when you reset a password, they make you wait like 24 hours. And obviously I couldn't record this video 24 hours later. Let's go ahead and wrap the video up by a study done at Yale. New Yale study, every portfolio should include 6% Bitcoin at least, and I think this is a good way to put a little bow on the video. According to Professor Ali, we're gonna call him Ali. Bitcoin should be an imperative part of your portfolio, regardless of whether you are enthusiastic about cryptocurrencies or not. For an optimal construction of one's portfolio, the economist holds that Bitcoin should account for at least 6% of it. Those who are less enthusiastic about the world's most popular cryptocurrency should hold 4% of it. In any case, though, regardless of your position on the matter, Bitcoin should comprise a minimum of 1% of your portfolio just for diversification purposes. Now, this isn't necessarily saying that he's like a Bitcoin maximalist or he thinks Bitcoin's going to go to 100 million or whatever. Obviously, it won't. But this is saying that he believes that it is an important part of your diversification. And this is nice because a lot of people, when they're making their investments, they do look to economists to see what the economists are saying because they think that they can't do their own TA and their own fundamental analysis and use their own intuition to try and decide where they want to make investments. So they look to economists. So this is a little bit of bullish news. It's not a huge deal, but it is nice to see. And it does kind of lead me into my final point for this video, which is, guys, even though Bitcoin is going down, even though the last 11 out of the last 12 days for Bitcoin have been red, I say this in a lot of videos, the fundamentals haven't changed, guys. Like I said, the fundamentals have continued to improve. The fundamentals have just gotten better, and Bitcoin's price has been going down. What does that mean for Bitcoin? That means that the future for Bitcoin is still very, very bright. When Bitcoin is going down like this, you shouldn't look at it as a negative thing. If you're trading, well, okay, just stop going long, go make a BitMEX account and go short it. If you're trading it, you don't need to worry about Bitcoin going down. It's just as easy to short Bitcoin as it is to long it. If you're in the US, go download a VPN and get on BitMEX. I'm not telling you to do that because I don't know what they'll do if you do that. But that's one option that you have. If you're trading, if Bitcoin's going up or down, if you're a trader, you shouldn't really care. You can short it if it's going down. You can buy it if it's going up. People shorting is one of the reasons why Bitcoin is going down so fast. But guys, if you're here for the long term, and if you aren't here for the long term, you really should be, and you really should be making a long-term investing portfolio for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is at an extremely low price right now. Even from all-time high, we're down like 68%, like it's like 69%, 68.5% from all-time high right now, $20,000 down to 6.25. Bitcoin has retraced a very long way from all-time high, and in 5 years, 10 years, when we come back and we look at the Bitcoin market, we're going to say, damn it, what in the hell was I doing? I should have been buying Bitcoin for the long term, guys. I should have been building a retirement fund for Bitcoin so I can retire when I'm like 25, guys. You should have been doing this kind of stuff and buying Bitcoin for the long term because, you know, just imagine if you were one of the initial investors in Apple. Imagine if you had bought like, I don't know, 1,000 shares of Apple back in the 80s. Where would you be right now? You'd be pretty happy with yourself. If you had have done that, then you would have been very happy. But of course, one, you may not have been born in the 80s, and two, you may not have known about Apple. Well, you don't have those two excuses with Bitcoin. You know about Bitcoin. And if you've been here for this long, if you're new to the space, even if you're new or old to the space, you probably realize that Bitcoin is a big deal and is going to have a big impact on the world. And also, like I said, you don't have the excuse that you're not born, and you also don't have the excuse that you don't know about it. So if you're not making a long-term investing portfolio in Bitcoin, buying some Bitcoin, putting it in a private key, and locking away in a lockbox or in a safe that you buried in your backyard somewhere, if you're not making a long-term investing portfolio, I think you're making a mistake. And that's why I talk about that I'm so bullish on Bitcoin no matter what. I'm very optimistic on Bitcoin no matter what in the long term. That doesn't mean that I'm always bullish on the short term. Like I just told you, my gut's telling me we're going below $6,000. And I'm not telling you to buy at these prices. What I am telling you guys to do is be looking out for good prices where you think you can make a long-term investment. Because just like this guy says, 6% at least, Bitcoin is a good part of your portfolio. I would, in my opinion, say it should be a lot higher than that, but that's just because I'm a fan of Bitcoin, of course. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think, because a lot of people in this space are too short-sighted. So many people in the cryptocurrency space, and this is not an insult, but it seems to be the case. A lot of people in the cryptocurrency space, this is their first endeavor into investing. This is their first endeavor into trading or whatever, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's got to start somewhere. That's where I started. Cryptocurrencies are my first market. I'm more than welcome to admit that. I've been in crypto for over a year now, but a lot of people in the space are very new to the space. And a lot of people that are in crypto think that long-term is 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years. That's not long-term, guys. That's not long-term. A long-term investment is an investment that you make and you don't touch for 5, 10, 20, or 30 years. That's a long-term investment. I wouldn't even really say that 5 years is a long-term investment, guys. You have so many years ahead of you. I don't care how old you are. You probably have another couple of decades at least to live and watch your Bitcoin returns flow in and grow. So you can make as much money as you want trading. You can make as much money as you want swing trading. You can make as much money as you want doing short-term investments, short-term being the next week to the next year. But at the end of the day, you don't want to be that guy who watched Bitcoin run up to $20,000 and you remember the day that you sold it down here at $200. Don't be that person, because you'll never forgive yourself. That's what we had to talk about in today's video. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think of today's video. What do you think of my arguments? Where do you think Bitcoin is going? You can still click the poll in the top right to see where Bitcoin is, or to give your opinion on where you think Bitcoin is going to go, whether it'll stay above or below $6,000. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.